So hello everyone, welcome to this week's YouTube tutorial. I'm Michael Ingledew and yeah, elephant in the room. I did have an accident with a run-in with a bungee cord this week, which has given me a little bit of a headache. It won, I lost, and I bled profusely. My lump has actually gone down now, which is pretty good. So this week we're going to be looking at a specific question that came into us here at TDW, and I think it's a really good topic for YouTube because I'm seeing that lots of you want to learn more about where standards and specifications are going and how that's going to impact the technical publications. So firstly, you know who you are. Thank you for this question. It's a really good question, and you've asked me the question around the role of the CSDB and will it or can it support the S series specifications. And I've protected your identity, but it is a sensible question and I can understand why you're asking it. And so I have done some stuff on the role of the CSDB in the past, and that's on YouTube and on our blog channels, and there's some member only content around CSDBs and the CSDBs that I have access to and I use, and so go check those out. But you asked very specifically about the support of the S series, which is coming. Now this is a very good question. And why is this a good question? Because we are seeing now more and more discussions around the S series. We are seeing people saying, look, this is a great way, or it's going to be a great methodology for us to adopt going forward for our complex platform. And you're going to see more in terms of other terminologies moving into our domain. And we're going to see things like digital twin, digital thread, IoT, connected platform, which I talk about a lot. I'm seeing more and more these are coming up. And if you're not familiarizing yourself with these technologies and capabilities, you're going to need to, especially if your customers are going to start asking you for this structured information and this data thread that you're going to have to be able to support and supply. And the digital twin environment, actually, there's a whole load of work going on, as there is in the S series specifications. So there's a whole bunch of organizations involved in driving these specifications to kind of give us this birth to decommission, or I call it design to decommission, of our platforms going forward. So, and we're going to talk about the S series and where that is. Now, we're going to do much more on the S series over the coming weeks and months. So make sure you like and subscribe, because you're going to get to learn more about that. But this is a really good question, and I really like the idea of answering it for YouTube and maybe benefiting the wider community. So we have a typical, again, I'm genericizing. So if there's anything here that represents your product, your platform, your project, it's purely coincidental. I am just trying to keep things as generic as possible without identifying any organizations or products or platforms. So we have our S1000D domain, and we have all of these stovepipes or disciplines or domains or whatever you want to call them actually feeding into our S1000D domain. Now, on this slide, we can actually interchangeably remove S1000D and just say technical publications. We have been doing this for decades, for years, infinitum. We have been taking other discipline data and driving it into our technical publications and turning it into something that's coherent, that we can then give our desired outputs to wherever we want to go. This should not be, anybody who's familiar with technical publications should not be shocking or groundbreaking. The role of the technical publication is essentially to take all of this data, all of this external data, and turn it into something that a maintainer, an operator, a user, a reader can understand, interpret in a safe, clear and coherent way. But we are not making anything up. We are taking all of this data from and all of these requirements from external domains and turning it into something that is supportive of the platform. So where does the S series slot in on this? And this is, again, we are now not going to interchangeably change S1000D for technical publications. I'm very much going to be focusing on the S1000D environment. So we are now going very much at the S1000D driven technical publications methodologies. So we still have all of these domains, and there are other domains, but I've tried to keep it as simple as possible. We still have all of these domains that feed into us, and we have data sets in here, or data elements or data structures in all of these domains that we may need to use. Now, there's a whole raft of information that exists in those other domains that are not really interesting to us or appropriate for us in the technical publications production processes. But there are lots of data elements, data structures, information that we have to use and we want to use within our S1000D technical publication. Step in the S-Series specifications. Now, the S-Series specifications, again, if you don't know what they are the S-Series of integrated product support specifications. Now, over the coming weeks, we're going to look at alternatives to the S-Series as well, because there are other ways that we can do things. We don't have to just adopt the S-Series, and plus the fact they're not quite ready yet in many aspects. Like I said, there's lots of work going on in the background, but we have all of these external domains, and we are now going to have specifications that are going to help us define what we need from these stovepipes, from these disciplines, from these domains. And therefore, we can connect them and start saying which data elements are appropriate to which specific domain. Now, I have simplified this because there are lots of what we call connecting specifications. I think Paul Haslam calls them glue specifications. And there's lots of little areas in here that are not illustrated, because to go into too much detail would take too much time for a short YouTube tutorial. But to give you an idea, there's a whole data mapping kind of working groups and all those specifications going on that will say from this domain you need to map these elements to this particular domain, to give us an idea of how we can connect the dots between the actual domains, therefore enabling something like the digital thread, and then enabling us to use all of this content inside our digital twin environments, the connected platforms, and those kind of things. So we're actually going to be able to really start leveraging how this is going to work. But what the S-Series is trying to do, or what the S-Series is going to do, is it's actually going to try and close the circle. It's going to close the loop on all of these domains. So what it's going to do is, not only are we going to be able to map data elements and data structures and data content from these other domains and use them in our S1000D environment, we are going to be able to use things like IoT and AI, and how we can then start analyzing what our product's doing. Is it doing what we said it was going to do? Is it going to do it how we said it was going to do it? And we can start influencing our designs of the products of the future, or how we may want to take correctional decisions through life on our particular platform. So the S-Series of integrated product support specifications is going to be able to enable us to really link all of these data structures right the way from the early design phases all the way out to the product actually being out in service, and how can we bring them back together. So, but your question was, can we use the CSDB to actually support these other S-Series specifications? Now, so the takeaway from these slides is, remember, these are different domains. So these are different skill sets, they're different production departments and stovepipes. So, just remember that, because again, like I said, not all of the content that is produced by these people are things that we need to concern ourselves, but there are areas that they are producing that we do need to concern ourselves with. So I've said this before, and on my training courses, which, by the way, we've got an Understanding XML and S1000D course coming up very soon. So if you're interested in that, get in touch, be live online. We're doing it for the Australian time zone, so which means it's earlier clock for me, and we will be delivering it online with daily sessions. So if you want to join that, please do get in touch. So we're going to, one of the things we talk about is the role of the CSDB. And again, I've genericized this, and I talk about the CSDB is more than a simple content store. And, you know, there are different approaches to a CSDB development. And again, I'm genericizing, so I am not pointing at any particular product or platform here. So the CSDB is something that can be standalone. So there's definitely CSDBs, and what do I mean by that is that there are people that, or organizations that produce a CSDB purely to look at it from an S1000D production methodology. So all they are saying is that we are just supporting the S1000D specification and all its capabilities. And so all it's doing is supporting S1000D. So it doesn't support any external content stores. It doesn't support, it's just purely S1000D. And there are some CSDBs out there that take that. There are some that will semi-integrate with external domains, and I'll talk about that in detail on our training course. But what I mean is that there are some software vendors that have identified that there is a mapping exercise from 2000M, for example, to the S1000D CSDB. And so what you can do is they'll provide you with some templates. You can populate your 2000M information, and then you can migrate or import that directly into a S1000D CSDB. So I actually talk about this on my Understanding S2000M training course, where we look at the data elements that are defined within S2000M, and then how do we map those S2000M data elements over to our S1000D IPD structures, for example. And I give examples of how organizations are doing that. So the semi-integration is that there are software vendors, and if you're looking for a software vendor, check out the software vendors that support what we do, because a lot of the guys that I have listed on our website are the ones that are supporting pretty much what I'm saying today. So they can actually import data elements from other domains and bring them over. So that is kind of the semi-integration of a CSDB, but we're now moving more into a deeper integration. And I'm going to talk about that when I come to my last slide very, very shortly. And you're going to see now that we are going to have more and more changes to CSDBs that are going to try and bring together all of these domains in a much more unified production methodology, is what you're going to see. And again, I'm not talking about any specific vendor, and you know, I'm not saying that I'm recommending one over another or anything along those lines. So we're going to have the CSDB of the future. We're still going to have all of this content that is going to need to be produced from a traditional technical publications perspective. So all of those business processes, S1000D processes, media, traditional content. I'll talk about traditional content. Again, it depends on the kind of CSDB you go for. Is that, you know, very rarely do I come across an organization that just wants to buy a CSDB just to do S1000D. They also want to be able to use it as a bit of a CMS, DMS system too, a content management, document management system. And there's only a couple of good, solid CSDB vendors out there that do that. So, you know, so we have this traditional methodology as well. Again, but you have these sometimes just pure CSDBs that will only support S1000D. That's all they do. That's all they care about. And, you know, and that's their product design requirements. So we have all of this functionality and features that are traditional for our CSDB. And, you know, I could have put more stuff on here. And, you know, we do have some CSDBs that will do some or all of this, and some will do a couple of this and other and slightly different things. But we're going to have to then now be cognizant of the S-series specifications as well, and how we're going to map those data elements into the S series. So to answer your question, the question is, can we use it to support the S series? And, when we talk about the S series as a whole, we're talking about areas of those specifications that are important to us within the S1000D technical publications environment. So what you'll find is the semi integrations are lots of the CSDB vendors are providing integration paths. So you can import data sets, you can link data sets. I nearly said a name of a product then, but I'm deliberately trying not to mention specific products on this particular channel. But there are some vendors out there that will take LSA data and they will map it to procedural data for the data modules, for example, in S1000D. And so it'll create all of the ID status section, pull out some of the task narratives, and the authors can get off and start working. And so there's already support out there for elements of the S series specifications, but not the deeper integration, I think, is what you're asking for right now. But what are my thoughts on this? So given that, my thoughts are that, a lot of software companies are now just sitting back and going, okay, so where's this going? How's it going to work? Where are the data maps? Where are we going to have the integration points? And, a lot of the software companies are kind of just monitoring what's going on right now. My thoughts are very much that the market is definitely changing, and you've only got to look at acquisitions that go on in the market, so you can see where strategically organizations are thinking. And we are moving more and more to an integrated data environment. So if you're not talking about connected platforms, connected technical publications, really leveraging your data, you're missing a trick, and you maybe need to just do a little bit of investigation into what that actually means. But we are moving more to a digital thread and a kind of digital twin, connected platform, leveraging the technical content with AI, with IoT, and it's coming, guys. You've only got to look at what's happening in adjacent markets and what things like Azure are doing, AWS, Amazon Web Services, all these kind of guys, and there's lots of them out there. You've just got to go to YouTube, type in digital twin, and there's lots of presentations out there. There's a really good presentation on a connected city, and it talks about how they connect the vehicles that are driving around to the city, and they can monitor what's going on, and then through AI they can do lots of analysis and all that kind of stuff. So lots of that coming your way from us over the next coming weeks. But to answer your question in a nutshell, depending on which version you go for, depending of which software solution you go for, depends on the level of integration that you get. So my suggestion would be to go to each of the S-Series specification websites, go download the specifications, have a read. You'll see what's going on. You'll see where the specifications are going. We are doing an innovation in integrated product support free spring seminar online. I'll put the link down below. You can join that, and you'll probably get to learn a little bit about what a lot of these software vendors are doing. And so I hope that answers your question. I hope that adds a little bit of value. Again, like, subscribe, because we're going to be doing much more on S-Series and what are the alternatives to S-Series and where technology is going and how can we really leverage it. I hope that answered your question. If it didn't, let me know and I'll do my best to answer it again. And until the next one, chaps.